Ladies and gentlemen of the General Assembly, and honored guests, as we gather tonight to receive the Governor's State of the State, I believe that it is fitting to acknowledge that this marks the 9th and final State of the State address from the longest-serving governor in South Carolina's history. Further tonight, I believe it appropriate for us to pause in order to give thanks to this governor for his dedicated service to this state, the state that he loves, and for his tireless efforts to make South Carolina better and stronger today and for the generations that follow. I am very proud to call him my governor, and I'm even prouder to call him my friend. Governor, thank you for your great service to the state of South Carolina. Now it is my honor to present to you the Honorable Henry Dargan McMaster, the governor of the great state of South Carolina. Governor.
Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated, please. This is wonderful. What a great group. It's an honor to be in this place. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the General Assembly, justices of the Supreme Court, my fellow South Carolinians. We are here tonight to address successes, challenges, and opportunities. But first, as in prior years, I'd like to recognize those in uniform whom we lost in the line of duty last year, 2025. Deputy Nathaniel Michael Anseh of the Florence County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Frank Devin Mason of the Darlington County Sheriff's Office, Trooper First Class Dennis Dwayne Ricks, Jr. of the South Carolina Highway Patrol, Deputy Fire Chief James Jimmy L. Townsend of the Moncks Corner Rural Fire Department. To the families and loved ones of these brave South Carolinians, we offer our condolences. We're eternally grateful for their service. I'm delighted to have with us once again tonight our First Lady, my bride Peggy, our son Henry Jr., his wife Virginia, and our 3-year-old granddaughter who's at home, Margot Gray, 11-month-old grandson Henry Dargan McMaster III is also home, our daughter Mary Rogers, her husband Sam Herskovitz, and our 3.5-year-old grandson James Dargan, and 16-month-old granddaughter Lucille DeBose, known as Boosie. Will you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Also, our Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett and her husband David and our state constitutional officers are here. Will you all please stand and be recognized? And finally, will the current and former members of my administration, including former and current, including cabinet agencies, gubernatorial appointees, executive staff from the governor's office and the governor's mansion and gardens, please stand and be recognized, please. I want to thank you all again. You're doing a great job for our great people. 9 years ago, I had the honor and privilege of being sworn in as your governor, our state's 117th. The people of our great state expressed their confidence in me twice by allowing me to continue serving them in this position. My family and I thank you all. A few years ago, I asked you a question. What will South Carolina look like in 100 years, 100 years from now? What will we look like to ourselves and the rest of the world? Well, tonight I'm here to answer that question. Ours is a state of commerce, conservation, and consequence. We know that our prosperity depends on our economic strength, educational excellence, and environmental heritage and health, each of which supports the other. Challenge, change, and innovation come fast. To succeed, we must be ready by nature, spirit, and ability. And I'll tell you, we are. We are ready. We are unique. Our state is one which once stood one half beneath the waves of the mighty Atlantic Ocean. It bears the footprints of the French explorers and Spanish conquistadors. And 10,000 years before they got here, and up until this day, holds the presence and culture of our Native Americans. Into this land came men and women from 9 European countries, Christian and Jew, 19 West African cultures, which now comprise 4 West African countries. And over the years they came, first a few, then hundreds. Some came rich, mostly poor, some black, some white, some free, some enslaved. They came by choice or command, in rags, riches, or chains, but they came and they endured. Unlike any of the other colonies, ours was to be an agrarian paradise. It was influenced in its infancy by the cultural tradition of England's 17th century colony of Barbados, supported by natural abundance of our lands and waters, and embraced by a determined, most determined people. We thrived. An official report to King George II in 1739 said, and I quote, "This town," referring to Charleston, "and province," referring to South Carolina, "may truly be esteemed the most flourishing of any of His Majesty's dominions in America." And it was. Our course of South Carolina, unlike others, was charted by the most skilled hands of the law, by the writings of John Locke, and the legal acuity and acumen of our signers, learned men of experience and vision who were educated not by reading law, but in the Inns of Court in London, willing to give their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to the new nation they were creating, and so proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence in 1776 to the world, and then in their covenant, a constitution for the people in 1787. Out of 8 signers of those documents combined, 7 of them were graduates or attended the Inns of Court in London. We had more lawyers in our colony during the colonial period attending the Inns of Court for their legal education than any other colony. Not by numbers, but by sheer willpower and determination did our people defeat the British Southern Campaign, thereby signaling the end of the Revolutionary War. We thrived greatly and thereafter rose from the devastating ashes of 1861 through 1865 like a phoenix determined to survive. Our state has lost sons in every war, world wars included. We've lived through pernicious piracies, the bombardment of Charleston by the British in 1780, the burning of Columbia in 1865, as well as dozens of epidemics, 2 pandemics, one recent, and a bountiful procession of hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, and floods. Our people have endured and struggled through a Great Depression, recessions, and threats and acts of worldwide terror, and all the while, from then until now, holding fast to their families, their faith, their traditions, and their love of this land. Today, this place and people we call South Carolina bathe in the respect and even envy of other states in this country as we chart our remarkable course of commerce, conservation, and prosperity. We know what needs to be done and how to do it, and we will. Yes, because this is the South Carolina century. Recently, I wrote to the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, inviting them to join us for Carolina Day, the state's annual commemoration of the Battle of Fort Sullivan, which this year will take place during the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. Starting this year and in years to follow, South Carolina will have a unique opportunity to celebrate the decisive role we played in the fight for American independence. There were more than 200 battles and skirmishes fought in our state, more than any other colony. Many historical sites still need markers today, including the camp of General Francis Marion and his patriots in the Pee Swamp. The British couldn't find it, and neither can we, so far. Many scholars rightly say the war was won here. So did Sir Henry Clinton, the commanding general of all British forces in North America. In his post-war memoirs, he wrote that the defeat at Kings Mountain, where Major Ferguson died from a bullet to the head, and that's their Major Ferguson, an event which was immediately productive of the worst consequences for, end of quote, for General Cornwallis, who was the leader in South Carolina, and was, quote, the first link in a chain of evils that followed in regular succession until they at last ended in the loss of America. Cornwallis is not quoted anywhere. They suggest quotes, but he said, it is over. We cannot defeat South Carolina. Our state's history and culture are unsurpassed in the creation of this nation. It's well documented in books and by hundreds of historical markers, monuments, buildings, and homes dedicated and preserved to tell our state's wonderful story. The names of our towns, streets, institutions, rivers, and families carry that history forward to this day. Few states, if any, can match the natural beauty, bounty, and variety of South Carolina, from the mountains to the sea. And few can match the elegance and craftsmanship of the historic homes, churches, synagogues, and other structures found in our land, including Beaufort, Charleston, Georgetown, and Camden, built during the times when Mother Nature herself was the fount of all our prosperity. Today, when business leaders from around the world measure the assets of our state, they remark on our people, the character and nature of our people themselves. Visitors do the same. They sense our people's loyalty, patriotism, kindness, and steadfastness. They see the natural paradise in which we work and live. They see the historic confluence of our Judeo-Christian and military traditions, and they like what they see, sometimes more clearly than we do ourselves. We have become known as the handshake state, where your word is more valued than any signed contract. I saw the chairman of BMW twice, 5 years apart, say, in South Carolina, I'd rather have your hand in mine and your word than a signed contract. In the last 9 years, by working together, through collaboration, cooperation, and communication, we have created our own great chapter in the illustrious history of our state, South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of South Carolina, our state, is an outstanding example. Today, our economy is strong, creating large budget surpluses year after year. Last year, we announced over $9.1 billion in new capital investment and more than 8,100 new jobs in both rural and urban South Carolina. I'd like to recognize several of the businesses which announced their confidence in our people by their substantial capital investment in 2025. If the leaders will stand as I name their company, we will respond after everyone is standing. In Allendale County, Hampton Lumber is establishing the company's first sawmill on the East Coast, creating 125 new jobs with a $225 million investment. Welcome, Mr. Brett Griffin, Senior Vice President of Manufacturing, Hampton Lumber. In Pickens County, Ehring Klinger, an automotive supplier, is expanding its main U.S. battery hub operation with an additional 294 jobs and $68.5 million investment. Welcome, Mr. Wilfried Hawk, General Manager, Ehring Klinger, South Carolina. In Clarendon County, Hominid USA, a leading manufacturer of wood materials, is establishing its first U.S. manufacturing operation. The $250 million investment will create 300 new jobs. Welcome, Mr. Alfred Geiger, President and CEO of Hominid USA. In Greenville County, Isuzu North America is investing $280 million, creating more than 700 jobs to establish its new U.S. production base that will assemble medium and heavy-duty trucks. Welcome, Mr. Noboru Murakami, there you go, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Isuzu North America. In Spartanburg County, Woodward, Inc., a global leader in energy control solutions for aerospace and industrial markets, is establishing a South Carolina marketing facility with a $200 million investment and 275 new jobs. Welcome, Mr. Colin Rorabaugh, Vice President, Product Management for Woodward. Thank you and welcome. Since 2017, we've announced over $53.7 billion in new capital investment and almost 100,000 new jobs. Why? Because state government is in superior fiscal shape, our laws and policies are business friendly, our income tax is shrinking every year, and our population continues to grow. We're investing in the right things, in education, public safety, workforce training. We're preserving and protecting our lands, natural resources, and cultural heritage. And our infrastructure and energy demands are being met with planning, foresight, and commitment. When the pandemic came, you remember we took a road less traveled by and relied on common sense and the Constitution. Other states faltered. They took the wrong road. We've soared. Some of our businesses had their best years ever that year. Yes, South Carolina's future prosperity requires that we constantly work to create, innovate, and improve our efforts in all endeavors. Here's how. We've made tremendous progress improving our roads, bridges, highways, and interstates. Today, there are almost $7 billion worth of active projects underway across the state, up from $2.7 billion in 2017. In the last 4 years, we've added an additional $1.4 billion to state budgets for new construction. However, inflation is here. Inflationary construction and labor costs threaten to create crippling delays and busted budgets. It is critical that this year's budget invest an additional $1.1 billion in new surplus money to keep these projects moving and on schedule. Our population, last year the U-Haul rental company ranked South Carolina as the #1 destination for their moving trucks and vans. I believe it. Left unaddressed, we will face future problems with water, sewer access, traffic congestion, road and bridge repair, demand for electric power generation, public safety, school overcrowding, health care, availability, and everything else. Therefore, I submit to you that time has come and reality requires that we seriously assess whether our state's infrastructure and government services will be able to catch up with this unrestrained, out-of-state population growth as it continues at this rate. We must act. On tax cuts, we must continue to have them. Until a few years ago, we had the highest personal income tax rate in the Southeast and the 12th highest in the nation. Not anymore. 5 years ago, I signed into law the largest tax cut in state history. As a result, South Carolina taxpayers have kept an additional $1.275 billion of their own money in their own pocket. This year, I have again proposed cutting the personal income tax rate as much as we can, as fast as we can, and as often as we can. And if the General Assembly can find a way to eliminate it altogether, I will sign it the second it arrives on my desk, and that's a promise. Education. One time all roads led to Rome. Today all quests for prosperity lead to education, straight through the schoolhouse. All of our children must receive an excellent education. Albert Einstein said, a problem can never be solved by thinking on the same level it produced it. He's right. And by thinking big and being bold, we have made some of the most important decisions and investments we've ever made in early childhood, primary, secondary, and higher education in this state. For example, 8 years ago, the minimum starting salary of a teacher in South Carolina, the minimum starting salary was $30,113, and the average salary was below the Southeastern average. I proposed then that we begin raising the minimum starting teacher salary as much as possible each year, with the goal of raising it to at least $50,000 by 2026. That's now. Each year, we raised it. We should keep raising it. This year, we will raise it again, going from $48,500 to $50,500. This will represent a 68% increase since that year 2017. South Carolina's required minimum starting teacher salary continues to exceed that both of Georgia and North Carolina. And ladies and gentlemen, that's good. In addition, as the minimum salary for new teachers has risen, so has the average salary of a public school teacher in South Carolina, reaching $64,050 last year. $64,050, which exceeds the Southeastern average every year since 2021. We are making progress. As a result, vacancies in teaching positions at our schools, public schools, have plummeted, and learning has thrived. 4K, since the statewide expansion of full-day 4-year-old kindergarten program, known as 4K, which started in 2021, enrollment in the program offered in the public schools, private child care centers, and private schools has increased significantly. We expected that. Statistics show that a child from a low-income household enrolled in a state-funded full-day 4K program will be better prepared for kindergarten than their peers who do not participate, and will do better. Today, 18,411 students are enrolled in 4K, which is a 30% increase since the program was expanded. Currently, every public school district in the state, except one, is offering full 4-day kindergarten, and the demand for enrollment at private daycare and private school 4K providers continues to grow. From experience, not just statistics, we know that 4K works. Children who succeed in kindergarten are better prepared to succeed in first grade, second grade, and in third grade. And we know if third graders are proficient in reading and mathematics, they are likely to be successful in high school as graduates of high school. Not only should we increase funding, but I urge the General Assembly, I urge you to soon offer universal full-day 4K for all children, regardless of household income in our state. 2 years ago, we created the Education Scholarship Trust Fund. It provides scholarships to eligible low-income parents. This allows them to choose the type of 4K education environment and instruction that best suits their child's unique needs. Parents love these scholarships, and demand for them continues to rise. We should continue to expand eligibility by increasing the number of funded scholarships each year. Healthy competition in the education marketplace is the true key to excellence. Placing an armed certified school resource officer, known as SROs, in every school, all day, every day, has been one of my top priorities, as you know. In 2018, only 406 of the state's 1,283 public schools had a full-time school resource officer. School districts couldn't fund additional SROs, and local law enforcement agencies couldn't find new officers to become SROs. At my request, you began funding a grant program administered by the Department of Public Safety to provide local law enforcement agencies with funds to hire resource officers to fill these vacancies. This grant program worked. Every public school in our state now has funding for an SRO. Everyone has the money, and all but 102 have an officer in place. That is great progress, and we are unique. This makes South Carolina a national leader in school safety, provides us all, parents, everyone, us, peace of mind, and enhances learning dramatically. Maybe you heard of this. On November 6, 2025, Chester County Sheriff Max Dorsey wrote to me describing a recent incident at a school in Chester. He wrote, and I quote, "On Friday, October 31st, 2025, shortly after noon, an individual illegally entered the grounds of Chester Park Elementary School of the Arts. The suspect forcefully broke through a classroom window and immediately attacked a teacher in an attempt to abduct a 3-year-old child from her special needs classroom." Can you see that picture? The teacher's courageous resistance. She was pulling the child in while he was trying to pull the child out. That delayed the suspect, but he did manage to exit the classroom and reach the playground area while still holding the child. Now, this is a quote from Sheriff Dorsey. At this crucial moment, our 2 assigned school resource officers, both sworn sheriff's deputies, along with their supervisor, who responded from an adjacent school, immediately engaged the suspect. Their swift and decisive actions subdued the individual and ensured the child's safe recovery. The suspect is currently in custody and faces multiple serious criminal charges, including kidnapping. Max Dorsey said, "Most importantly, I wish to emphasize the decisive role of the school resource officers present that day. The SROs assigned to this school complex are funded entirely through your state legislation, a priority you have steadfastly supported. Without this direct funding through the South Carolina General Assembly, it is highly unlikely we would have had the personnel necessary to respond so effectively. I will not speculate on what might have occurred in their absence, but I am certain that their presence was the difference between tragedy and a successful rescue." End of quote from that letter. With us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is Sheriff Max Dorsey and the Chester County Sheriff's Deputy SROs and their supervisor who engaged the suspect. Stand as I call your name. Sheriff Max Dorsey, Deputy Richard Griffin, Deputy Sandra Stinson, Corporal Kristen Going. Providing backup that day from off campus, Deputy SRO Wanda Alexander and Corporal Kelly Griffith from the Department of Public Safety's SRO program, who just happened to be arriving at the school for a site visit. Will you please stand, all of you, stand tall and be recognized. And thank you. Thank you. Higher education is essential, as we know, to ensure our state has a trained and skilled workforce to compete for jobs and investment in the future. That means our colleges, universities, and technical colleges must remain accessible and affordable for the sons and daughters of South Carolina. For 7 consecutive years, we have frozen college tuition for in-state students. We began providing unprecedented levels of need-based financial aid for Pell Grant eligible in-state students to attend any in-state public or private college, university, or HBCU. To address our business's high demand for workforce skills, training, and knowledge, we have provided over 120,000 South Carolinians with free scholarships to cover the cost of tuition at any of our technical college to earn a post-secondary or industry credential in careers like manufacturing, nursing, computer science, information technology, and transportation, logistics, or construction. And by the way, Wilbur Ross, who was President Trump's Secretary of Commerce in his first term, visited South Carolina many times during those 4 years and said that the technical college system in South Carolina is the best in the world. And it is, and we're making it better and better and every day. And that is the key to happy lives and successful careers and happy children for thousands of South Carolinians. We are making enormous progress, but the first question remains, in view of the world's ever-advancing technologies and our own growth and ambitions, will we be prepared to meet our state's workforce needs of the future? The answer to that question, I believe, we must commission a serious systemic review of our state's 33 public institutions of higher education. Will they be accessible to our people and affordable? Are they responding and innovative? Are they well run? Should we consolidate schools, programs, certificates, or degrees? And will enrollment grow, plateau, or shrink? Remember, major businesses in the United States and abroad have clearly demonstrated their desire to bring their fortunes and facilities to South Carolina and to employ our people in those facilities. They are, quote, putting their money where our people are, end of quote. What we must do now is double down. We must continue making smart investments in our people to ensure that they are prepared to support and reap the benefits of our future prosperity. Energy, one of the main topics around the world. Future economic prosperity also requires us to have abundant and affordable energy. Questions are, will there be enough all over the country? Our electric generation, distribution, and transmission capacity and capabilities must be able to handle enhanced future economic development, anticipated technological advances, and population growth. 3 years ago, we were looking ahead. We created the Power SC Working Group. We began leading the effort to coordinate the state's energy shareholders to address our state's future needs. Then came SC Nexus Consortium, developed by our Department of Commerce. It's a collaboration with our research universities, technical colleges, state agencies, Savannah River National Laboratory, economic development, nonprofits, and private businesses. Putting that all together put us in a position to win in a contest with all the other states. I think there were about 700 entries for this. We're only going to be 12 winners, and we are one of them. We won designation as one of the U.S. Department of Commerce's 12 regional technology and innovation hubs in the country, and are eligible and have been receiving for research grant funding valued at up to $70 million annually. Our focus, power. We were thinking ahead, and we hit it just right. South Carolina, therefore, will lead our nation's nuclear renaissance. Our early preparations and the decision later by Santee Cooper to restart the construction of our 2 unfinished nuclear reactors at the V.C. Summer Nuclear Station marked the beginning of a national effort. And I'll tell you what we did. All that equipment, many parts, millions of dollars worth, we didn't sell them all off. We put them in big shelters, put them in warehouses. Climate control, they're right there. We've got the power lines are already up. We are ahead of the game, and we're going to get there. President Trump rightly recognized that reinvigorating America's nuclear industrial base is critical, not just to our energy and economic security, but also to our national security. With over half of our state's electricity safely generated by nuclear energy, with 7 operating reactors at 4 different locations, South Carolina has both the experience and the infrastructure needed to lead this nuclear renaissance to provide ample, clean, resilient energy for the future. We are ahead, and we will lead that national renaissance. It's a great day. A few years ago, it became clear that we had a mental health crisis in South Carolina. What wasn't clear was how bad it was. You all knew how people with physical disabilities, special needs, and mental health issues who were seeking assistance, what would happen? They were often required to navigate through a confusing maze of offices, agencies, and officials in languages they didn't understand as they thought they helped for a loved one or a dependent. We learned that 77% of our state's young people with major depressive episodes did not receive mental health treatment. 77%. Suicides had become the routine and not the exception. Homelessness was growing right before our eyes. Our people were falling through the cracks of a system that did not coordinate, communicate, or collaborate. There was no accountability and little to no leadership. At that time, I directed that we initiate and fund an immediate review of our state's behavioral health funding and delivery system. This analysis confirmed what many of us had feared, but much worse. South Carolina, this study showed, had the most fragmented and siloed health and human service delivery system in the nation, with the lowest ranking causing unnecessary suffering and pain. Unnecessary. Major changes were needed. Accountability was required, so we got to work. The result, working together, we completed the most significant government restructuring and accountability effort in over 30 years. New cabinet agencies were created to bring direct gubernatorial leadership and accountability to our state health care service delivery system. The first step of our restructuring effort came 2 years ago when the commission-run Department of Health and Environmental Control was dissolved and was statutorily reconstituted as 2 new gubernatorial cabinet agencies, the Department of Public Health and the Department of Environmental Service. Last year, the commission-run Department of Mental Health and the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs were dissolved and reconstituted, along with the Department of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Services, into a new gubernatorial cabinet agency, the Department of Health and Developmental Disabilities. I am pleased to report that these new cabinet agencies are now collaborating, communicating, and cooperating, working together each day side by side to improve and modernize access to health care services for our South Carolinians who depend on them. We have our work cut out for us, but I believe the hardest part of this monumental effort is behind us, and we will succeed. As you know, the first duty of government is law enforcement. That is to keep the people safe, our people. We must maintain a robust law enforcement presence and properly fund the police. We are blessed to have the finest law enforcement in the nation, second to none. We began closing the revolving door for career criminals, keeping them behind bars and not out on bail. And our laws have been strengthened to keep guns out of the hands of criminals and to punish those who commit crimes using them. A few years ago, we tasked our Department of Administration with conducting a comprehensive analysis of state law enforcement to pay to ensure that salaries were competitive to attract and retain top-tier talent. It worked. As a result, South Carolina's law enforcement officers have received substantial pay raises, some as high as 52% in the last 3 years. We must continue to invest in our law enforcement professionals, firefighters, and first responders who put their lives on the line every day. A lot of us get up and put on a tie and a coat. They get up in the morning and put on a bulletproof vest. Imagine. We must continue to support them with the equipment, technology, professional training that allows them to protect and serve the public and keep us safe. Our state has the lowest recidivism rate in the nation. It is a testament to the superior leadership at the Department of Corrections. As you know, Director Brian Sterling is there for many years and is now serving as our very excellent U.S. Attorney. Staffing shortages and attrition in our state's prison have been reversed, and sustained pay raises for correctional officers has resulted in the successful hiring of more officers to join their ranks. Investments in facilities, equipment, and interdiction efforts are working, and valuable skills, training, and education have empowered thousands to productively re-enter our communities. The men and women of the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, who worked around the clock with the latest storm, are recognized by their peers in the federal government as the gold standard among preparedness, response, and recovery professionals. Rightfully so, time and time again. Team South Carolina, as we refer to them, has stood in the breach when dangerous and deadly hurricane storms, disasters, emergencies, and even a pandemic threaten our state, our property, and the safety of our loved ones. They instill confidence and display competence in everything they do. On judicial reform, we must also ensure that the public has confidence in whom and how state judges are selected by making the processes more transparent and accountable. South Carolina is one of the 2 states in the country in which the legislature selects the members of the judiciary. Recent changes and improvements made by the General Assembly to this process were a good start, a first step in a longer walk that public confidence requires. I'm suggesting to you that our founding fathers prescribed a method for federal judicial selection that has served our country well and with which our public is well familiar. Gubernatorial appointment of all judges with the advice and consent of the state Senate requires no reinvention of the wheel. It will inspire the confidence of our people and will encourage more excellent attorneys to seek public service. I believe the time has come to reform the operation of our summary court system, in which over 300 of our state's magistrate judges handle the overwhelming majority of cases that go before a court every day. Our Constitution provides that the governor appoints magistrates subject to the Senate's advice and consent. Each county is responsible for funding and providing facilities in the daily operation of magistrate courts, including the salaries of each judge. This arrangement has led to tremendous financial disparities in how much magistrate judges are paid across the state. Excuse me. In addition, our magistrate judges are not required to be attorneys or possess a law degree. They are only required to possess a college degree, and that has not been so for a number of years. That was a necessary change. Being a lawyer is preferred, but residency requirements and low salaries make this public service unattractive for most. This leaves many counties without lawyers on the bench in magistrate court. I propose a better way. Magistrate judges should be compensated by the state in the same manner that circuit and appellate court judges are. The law should be changed to require them to be attorneys. They should be screened in a transparent manner, and county residency requirements should be eliminated. And the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court should determine how magistrate courts operate to ensure consistency in all of our 46 counties. South Carolina's future prosperity is looking good. Excuse me. There's a lot of talking going on up here.
We listen.
Yeah, you listen. That's good. South Carolina, you know, one day I'm running out of time, I guess, but I think we ought to keep these things. Shouldn't turn them over. You read them before I even get here. South Carolina future prosperity requires us to enhance our efforts to respect and protect our land, our history, our culture, and our natural environment. It is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that previous years and current economic growth have followed our efforts to conserve, preserve, and display our unique gifts of nature's abundance in our state. These are not opposing objectives which must be balanced as in a competition, one against the other. Instead, they are complementary, intertwined, and inseparable, each dependent on the other. Each can be accomplished to the fullest if we plan now and we be bold. In recent years, we've provided funds, time, and attention for identifying significant properties for preservation and conservation and for flood mitigation. We created the Floodwater Commission. Its purpose include measuring our strengths and weaknesses concerning the flooding, erosion, and the conditions of our rivers, coast, and barrier islands, and to make recommendations to the state to act upon. For the Commission's recommendations came the creation of a new cabinet agency, the Office of Resilience, and a Chief Resilience Officer for the state. Their mission: to develop plans and studies to identify flooding issues, to deploy mitigation projects, to develop grants for flood reduction, to conduct the voluntary buyout of homes in flood-prone areas, to protect and preserve endangered lands and wetlands, and to take on special environmental protection projects, as was done with the remarkable cleanup of over 1.5 million gallons of hazardous toxins, oil, and other things, tainted ballast and old diesel fuel inside the USS Yorktown in Charleston Harbor. It is clean as a whistle now and will not leak and destroy all those beaches. After the state's official water plan languished without update or consensus for over, I guess, about 20 years, we created the Water SC Working Group, led by a new cabinet agency, the Department of Environmental Studies. We tasked this cadre of stakeholders to quickly complete the plan and provide an inventory of how much surface and groundwater we have and how much we will need in the future. Like the old saying goes, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. I'm pleased to report that the new state water plan was completed and published just last month. We now have a plan. Today we have a veritable army of people, farmers, public and private organizations, as well as local governments dedicated to these endeavors, including the Conservation Land Bank, the Department of Natural Resources, the Office of Resilience, the Forestry Commission, the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, PRT, the Nature Conservancy, the Open Space Institute, the Darla Moore Foundation, the Audubon Society, and Francis Marion University. In less than 10 years, we have preserved almost 400,000 acres of historically or environmentally significant lands, including the state's largest conservation easement in history, which last year permanently protected 62,000 acres of beautiful land in the PD. We have protected our most important historic and cultural sites, including Snow Island, where General Francis Marion's Revolutionary Camp is somewhere located. We can't find it. Neither could the British. And the colonial area Blessing Plantation on the Cooper River. These properties are protected and in the future will become publicly owned, welcoming visitors to enjoy and learn about key aspects of South Carolina's landscape and history. Also included in this newly conserved acreage are African American historic sites, working farms and forests, and new areas for outdoor recreation from the mountains to the sea. Over the decade, we have created new state parks such as Ramsey Grove on the Black River and expanded existing parks in the Midlands and upstate. Among these is the Glendale Nature Park in Spartanburg, which is one of the largest urban parks in the upstate. A significant portion of this land was protected with funding from the South Carolina Conservation Bank, just over $250 million. The investment from the bank has brought in other funding from federal, local, and private sources, exhibited an unprecedented level of efficiency and effectiveness that has been the hallmark of South Carolina land conservation for many years, thanks to all those involved. Importantly, local governments have stepped up on land conservation, collectively investing many millions of dollars to conserve land and create new parks. But of our 46 counties in the state, only a few have conservation funding programs. Therefore, I urge all of our counties to join this effort. I say that protecting our land is a gift for all of our people. With insight and continued hard work, we can achieve the goal, helping private and public property owners with preserving half of their lands for future generations and making South Carolina recognizable as the closest thing we have to heaven on earth. So I ask again, what will South Carolina look like in 100 years? And I'll tell you, our towns and schools will be full of happy, healthy children, eagerly soaking up knowledge and inspiration from their dedicated and innovative teachers. Our young people will be energized with the talents, confidence, and education necessary for them to pursue their dreams. Parents will be confident, building futures for their families in a bustling economy of innovative diversity, from manufacturers to medicine, from agriculture to aeronautics, from art to astronomy, from military to music. We'll cover it all. And the treasures of our lands and waters, from the Blue Ridge to the salt marshes, fields, streams, and forests, will be thriving and preserved forever. It is these gifts inherited by us, to be nurtured, protected, and presented to our people and future generations. That is our obligation. Our state, ladies and gentlemen, is a land of leaders. Leaders in thought, leaders in peace and war, leaders in industry. History has shown that this place is exceptional, just like our country, in which our people played paramount roles in building our country. Let us not stop now. Now I would like to ask you to consider all I've said, and I would like to offer an observation. Our governments cannot and should not ever be expected or even allowed to do everything that needs to be done. It is the individual citizen, his family or friends who must take responsibility and act. We need leaders. We need leaders. We have leaders in this room, everyone. I'd like to thank several such leaders, among many others, who have provided strong and sustained support for our people, notably in education and conservation. They are Susu and George Dean Johnson of Spartanburg, Darla Moore of Lake City, and Ben Navarro of Charleston. And there's one more I'd like to thank. a lady who has given her time and energies to protecting the children and animals of our state and to turning the governor's mansion and gardens into a masterpiece of beauty and history for all of our people. I'd like to thank and recognize the best wife, friend, and counselor in the world, my wife of almost 50 years, Peggy Jean McMaster. Stand up, girl. I love you.
Lucky man.
That's my girl. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. In closing, to all of you, the state of South Carolina is richly blessed with a hardworking, talented people. We stand today in a moment brimming with opportunity and promise. Never been like it before. I have faith in our people. I have faith in those whom they have elected to represent them here in this State House. I have faith in every one of you. Let us celebrate our successful partnership, one that's been based on communication, collaboration, and cooperation, and the love of our state. And if there's anyone here who is asked to visit with me on an issue in my office and they did not get an appointment, that was a bit gross oversight, and you're welcome to come anytime, as most of you do, because you're there all the time, and I appreciate it. Let us continue to think big, to be bold, and embrace civility and comity through our thoughts, words, and deeds. Let's be different from some of these other places. We are different. We've just discussed all the reasons why we're different. We're different, especially the young ones. We have to be models, role models for them, and tell them, for the reasons we've discussed tonight, to be proud of this state. The people in our state for hundreds of years have endured every force of nature and man has devised so far, and we have endured. And I tell some folks, you better respect these people. They've been here. They've been through it. They go to a convenience store or a restaurant, and a sweet old lady is bringing you food or taking your money, and you look at it and you think, that's a nice, sweet old lady. Listen, she and others have been here. Her family may have been here for 300 years. It's the simple people. It's the average citizen in South Carolina. There is no average citizen in South Carolina. We are different. We have built this state over the decades. It is strong as steel, and we should celebrate that, and don't ever let the children, don't ever let them forget that there's not a better place in this whole country, there's not a better place in this whole world to live, work, and raise a family. They need to be here. They need to embrace it. They're not renting it, they're owners. We all are. We need to understand that and tell the world about it. Let us keep our state on a course that will provide for prosperity, success, and happiness for generations. The best is yet to come. I love this state, and I know you do too. That's what drives us. The best, the very best is yet to come. May God continue to bless America and the great state of South Carolina. God bless you, and good night.